In a move that sent ripples through the international community, Chad has made a significant geopolitical decision. Chad announced its decision to terminate a long-standing military pact with France, a relationship that has been in place for decades. President Mahamat Idris Deby declared the agreement obsolete, stating that it no longer serves Chad's evolving security needs in the current geopolitical climate. The decision underscores Chad's desire to assert its sovereignty and adapt to new security challenges. This decision came as France grappled with growing anti-French sentiment across its former colonies in Africa, where many view French military presence as a form of neo-colonialism. Déby's announcement reflected a broader trend of African nations seeking to redefine their relationships with former colonial powers. Aiming for greater autonomy and self-determination, the pact, revised as recently as 2019, had been a cornerstone of French military engagement in the Sahel, a region plagued by instability and conflict. Critics argued that the French presence was ineffective at best, failing to bring lasting peace and security to the region, and counterproductive at worst, exacerbating existing tensions and contributing to a cycle of violence. Chad's decision marked a pivotal moment in the country's history, reflecting a complex interplay of factors including national pride, security concerns, and regional dynamics. The road ahead for Chad remains uncertain, fraught with challenges and opportunities as the nation navigates its path forward in a rapidly changing world. Chad's history, like that of many African nations, is intertwined with the legacy of European colonialism. France's presence in Chad shaped the country's political, economic, and social landscape. French involvement in Chad began in the late 19th century, driven by a thirst for resources and imperial ambition. The conquest of Chad was marked by violent confrontations with local populations resisting French domination. One such confrontation, the Battle of Kuseri in 1900, exemplified the brutality of French colonialism. French colonial rule in Chad was characterized by exploitation and a lack of investment in the colony's development. This legacy of exploitation contributed to the deep resentment towards France that continues to simmer in Chad and across the Sahel. The Chad-France military pact was born in the turbulent years following Chad's independence from France in 1960. The newly independent nation grappled with internal divisions and regional instability. The pact aimed to provide Chad with a security guarantee from its former colonial power. France viewed the pact as a way to maintain its influence in Chad and the wider region. The initial pact outlined the terms of military cooperation, including the stationing of French troops in Chad. However, the pact soon became entangled in the complex web of Chadian politics. Chad often relied on French military intervention to prop up successive governments. This reliance fueled accusations of neo-colonialism and undermined Chad's sovereignty. The Chad-France military pact, once a cornerstone of regional stability, gradually began to unravel under the weight of changing circumstances and evolving geopolitical landscapes. The end of the Cold War and the rise of new security threats contributed to the pact's waning relevance. As global dynamics shifted, the once clear-cut alliances became more complex and less predictable. France's strategic calculations shifted towards combating terrorism and managing instability in its former colonies. This new focus required a different approach and resources, leading to a re-evaluation of old alliances. The rise of radical Islamist groups in the Sahel presented a new security threat to Chad and the wider region. These groups exploited local grievances and weak governance, further complicating the security landscape. The French military presence in Chad was now viewed by some as ineffective and counterproductive. Local populations began to question the benefits of this foreign military footprint. Growing resentment towards the French military presence fueled anti-French sentiment within Chad. Protests and public demonstrations became more frequent, reflecting the deepening discontent. Critics argued that the French were more interested in protecting their own interests than addressing the root causes of instability. This perception further eroded trust and cooperation between the two nations. The perception of France as a neo-colonial power meddling in Chadian affairs undermined public support for the military pact. This historical baggage made it difficult to sustain a partnership based on mutual respect and shared goals. President Mahamat Idris. Déby's decision to terminate the military pact with France represented a bold assertion of Chadian sovereignty. Déby framed the decision as a necessary step to reclaim control over the country's destiny. He had long signaled his intention to reassess Chad's relationship with France. Déby criticized the French military presence in the Sahel as ineffective and called for a greater role for African nations in managing regional security. The termination of the pact was a calculated gamble, risking alienation of its closest military ally. Déby appeared to be betting that asserting sovereignty and seeking alternative security arrangements outweighed the risks. The move signaled a potential realignment of alliances in the region, with Chad potentially seeking closer ties with other regional powers or international actors. The termination of the Chad-France military pact unfolded against the backdrop of a region grappling with multifaceted crises. The Lake Chad Basin, once a vital source of water and livelihood for millions, had become a microcosm of the challenges facing the Sahel. The shrinking of Lake Chad had devastating consequences for the surrounding communities. Boko Haram exploited the crisis in the Lake Chad Basin to launch attacks and establish a presence in the region. Chad, with its long border with Nigeria, became a target of Boko Haram attacks. Addressing these underlying challenges was crucial for any lasting solution to the region's security woes. The termination of the Chad-France military pact marked a watershed moment. This decision has far-reaching implications for Chad, France, and the entire African continent. Chad stands at a crossroads, facing challenges and opportunities that will shape its future. The country faces threats from terrorism, instability, climate change, and poverty. Navigating these challenges requires diplomacy, strategic partnerships, and resilience. Chad's decision may inspire other African nations to reassess their colonial relationships. Understanding the historical context is crucial for making sense of this moment. The international community must support Chad's efforts for peace and development. Collaboration and mutual respect are key to achieving lasting peace and prosperity. For more historical insights, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video.